Hello everyone. In today's session we are going to discuss about what is Servlet and the Servlet architecture. Now very first thing is, what do you mean by the Servlet? Till now what we have discussed, from that we can conclude that whenever client is requesting for any of the file, the web server is going to provide that particular HTML file to the client in the response, but the HTML file is a static data, that is a static HTML pages. What to do whenever the data is dynamic or dynamic request handling? In that case, Servlet come into the picture. Servlet is one kind of Java class which handles the dynamic data request. So this helper application is nothing but the Servlet, and all the Servlets are available on the web container. Now in the following screen we will see the Servlet architecture. Whenever client is making a request, it will forward it to the web container. Web container is a virtual entity available on the web server. So as you can see on the screen, client is sending the request. It may be the GET or POST. Let's consider the GET. Based upon the request, it will be received by the web server. Web server will forward this particular request to the web container. Now web container is having some mechanism by which it is going to identify which corresponding servlet or the file is responsible to serve my request, and it is going to load that particular servlet from the memory. It will be executed, and in the response it is going to provide the outcome to the client. This is web container. Now we are getting one level deeper, that how does the web container handle a one particular request. Whenever client is sending the request, maybe the HTTP request, it will be forwarded to the web container. Now from the web container, it is going to identify that particular servlet, and two objects will be created of request in the response. It is the HTTP request object, and this is HTTP servlet response. HTTP servlet request and the HTTP servlet response. Once the servlet is loaded into the memory, it is following the multi-threaded model. So as per the number of requests, the number of threads will be created. Now the individual thread is having three servlet lifecycle methods. One of them, that is a service method. Service method will identify what is the type of the request, that is a GET or POST or any other. Based upon that, it is going to call the doGET method or doPost method. It will contain the business logic for your servlet. It will be executed, and during the HTTP servlet response object, the data will be forwarded to the web container, and the web container will send that particular response to the client. That's how the web container process any of the request. Now we are going to discuss about what is the role of the web container. The container is consist of a number of servlets in the JSP file. Basically, web container acts as a communication support between the multiple modules or the servlets. It provides the lifecycle management like when to call the init method, service method, destroy method. It is a lifecycle management. It also offers the multi-threading support. Now you can configure the way in which a request can be handled the single-threaded model, where each and every request will be served serially, sequentially. In the case of multi-thread, it is multiple request processing simultaneously. Again, the major role of the security. The servlet will have the multiple names by which the actual name is not publicly exposed. That is one layer of the security. It also supports the JSP files. Now, one more component, a very essential component, that is a deployment descriptor, also known as web.xml file. Now, how does the container know which servlet the client has requested for? It is like one kind of indexing file where each and every servlet has to make entry inside the web.xml file or the deployment descriptor. As you can see, this is all about web application, right? So very first element, that is a web app. The starting element would be web app. Everything will be available inside the web app element. Whenever you want to make any entry for the servlet, you're supposed to write down the entry inside the servlet element. Servlet and the servlet element. Now, servlet element is having a sub two elements, that is a servlet hyphen name, servlet hyphen class. Second element would be servlet mapping. This will provide the mapping for the servlet. In that, you are going to provide the servlet name and the URL pattern. Whenever a client is requesting for any servlet, in the URL pattern is written. So web container will look for the URL pattern. Now there is a one servlet name is associated with the individual servlet. Let's say the login servlet over here in our case. So once servlet name is available, it is going to map which is the corresponding servlet is available or associate with that. So again, it is going to verify the servlet name. The servlet name should be same as the given in the servlet mapping, the servlet name inside the servlet mapping. So once it is going to map both servlet name, one from the servlet mapping and one from the servlet element, if both are same, then again it is going to check which is the servlet class associated with the given URL pattern. So in our case, that is a com.login. Com, that is my package, and login, that is my servlet class. So servlet class is loaded into the memory. So if you observe, there are three names available for the servlet. Number one, that is a client known URL name, that is the URL pattern that is publicly available to the user. Second, there is a deployer known secret internal name, that pointing to the servlet hyphen name. Whatever name you have provided over here in the servlet name, for example login serve, that is the internal secret name provided by the deployer. And the third name, that is the actual file name, the actual servlet class. In our case, that is a login. So that's how a web container know which servlet client is requested for. This is the lifecycle method and the lifecycle for the servlet. Initially, there is no state, that is, you can say, does not exist. Whenever the first request received by the web container, whenever first request is received by the container, it is going to call the init method it is called only once during the life cycle. So servlet will be initialized with the pre-default value, and the two objects will be available, that is the servlet config and the servlet context, that we'll discuss in the later part. Once the servlet is initialized, right, as per the number of requests, the service method is going to be executed. Once you're going to undeploy the project, it is going to call the destroy method, and again the servlet will not be exist. That is the life cycle for the servlet. Thank you.